Hi, I just got through making a video about how I made this molding right here. It's a three-piece molding. It's on contract for a historical home, and I got to working on it, and I realized that I should make a video of this. So I did. It's about 20 minutes long. I hope you appreciate it. I've been doing this stuff for quite a while. 30 years ago, I had a big shop and had as many as 40 employees at one time, doing large-scale construction woodwork. Specialized in historical woodwork. I won awards with the state and the national architectural associations for my restoration of the Indiana State Capitol building back in 1987-88. Did a lot of other real fancy work. I worked with a lot of really talented guys, millwrights, and I learned a lot. And I kind of want to help maybe pass some of this along in case any of you are interested in doing this kind of work. Pretty much what I do anymore is just one piece, or two piece, small jobs. Every once in a while I do a large job. I do a lot of finishing, fancy finishes too. But anyway, I hope you enjoy and can get something out of this video. It's for people who are a little bit more skilled. It's not a video for beginners. It's for people who have some woodworking, but it might help you. It might give you a few insights on how to do some of this work. I'm Stan Garrison, and it just occurred to me that I should make a video of what I'm doing. I'm making custom-made casing molding for a historical building, a historical home. It's about 180 years old, and I do this kind of thing for a living, you see. And it just occurred to me that, I should make a video about this. Is a profile of the casing. It's built up. It's pretty elaborate. This is a very nice old historical home. 3 pieces. Now the windows are arched top. They're round at the top, see? So there's three different pieces to it. How I already started, but I'm going to show you how I set this first piece up, and then I'll turn off the camera and show you on the subsequent pieces. So I'm starting off with the biggest piece first. It's 5 inches wide. Now this is just a form. This is just a piece of 1/2 inch plywood. I cut it on radius using a router with a particular setup. You cut out this thing that attaches to the bottom plate, see, and it extends out, and there's lots of holes along here that will give you particular radiuses. Now there's a difference between inside radius and outside radius. That's all about whether you measure from the inside of the cutter back towards your stick, or the outside of the cutter. Now this is a 17 1/4 outside radius, and then this is a 12 1/4 inside radius. With this bit right here on it, and that bearing, that end bearing on that bit, will ride on this plywood surface. And then the cutter will cut the piece of poplar. I'm using poplar on this. I'll end up having a piece of poplar this same size. And it will set on top of this form and the router will ride on the form and cut the profile in the poplar that I'm wanting. With my trammel points, I started with a fulcrum point, and I traced my outside radius on there. Then with a second set of trammel points, I traced the inside radius. So I had those two little lines to guide me. Now I put some blocks here, 1/2-inch plywood blocks, to hold my piece of plywood up so that my cutter would only cut the plywood that I'm wanting to cut. So I put those blocks on there. And then I laid my whole piece of plywood on here. Lined up the edges. It extended past that line just a little bit. Then I just set to cutting. I cut the outside radius first so I wouldn't lose my fulcrum point. Cut the outside radius and that let this entire piece of plywood drop off. And then I cut while it's still sitting there, I cut the inside radius. Cut that piece off. See? And then that fell away. So, the next thing I've got to do, see, that was just the pattern for the first piece. 5-inch wide piece. Now the next piece I've got to do is this one right here. It's 3 7/8 wide. So I'll make a pattern now out of plywood for this piece. With my trammel points, I've marked the next piece. That there's 2 lines there. The first piece was the outer lines. The next piece has this next. That gives me a guide to go by. Got to put my spacer pieces on first, and then I'll move my plywood down. This piece right here. It's about 3 7/8 wide, and a 16 7/8 outside radius. Outside radius, 16 7/8 outside radius. The outside radius is taken from the inside of the cutting edge of the router bit. There, I just got through running it. Okay, now I got the next one cut. Of course, you know this, so I'm just doing a one-up. You can't afford, you know, to grind special knives, and I gotta be able to provide the customer a good product at a reasonable price. I used to work in a shop that was amazing. Had these amazing millwrights. These guys had done nothing their whole life other than to make custom architectural woodwork. Company had existed for 125 years. I got to learn so much from them. Sometimes I've done, you know, things like carving moldings with just carving chisels, you know, where you only needed just a little piece, you know. But that's just what I do, and there's a lot of need for that. And custom knives is, you know, just a knife stock might run you $500-600. Yeah, you can custom grind and you can make and match exactly the profiles, but can you afford to do that? So that's what I'm trying to focus on here to try to show folks. See, is how to do these quick setups and run, you know, just small amounts of things. Making my lines here just to make sure I don't have any screws, you know, so that I won't hit any screws. Outside radius I run first. There. Got that run. Inside radius, which will measure from the far side of the cutter bit. So there. Got that one run. Okay, now I'm laying out my poplar. I got 1 inch by 11. I'm going to start with the biggest piece first. I got my middle line running straight up there. I'm covered there on that end. Now I got to bring this over to where that halfway point intersects with the inside line. That will be a 45, and then I'll have a 45 running up there. See? There's half of it. I cut those on the top so that way I know I've got a nice 45s all the way around. 17¼ outside radius. Yeah. See how I got to keep that fulcrum point there. I can take that over to the bandsaw and cut them proud, you know, leave material there. The wood sticks out a little bit more than the plywood. And we'll be trimming that off with the router. With a router bit that has a bearing on the end to give you a flush trim. Okay, I just got through routing the edge here with this big router bit, the inside edge, and that's close to the profile that I'll end up with. These boards. One of them was acting as a straight edge for the other one. All I have to do is turn it over, and then I've got the ability to run the straight edge on the other one. I'm going to ease that one little edge right there. For the first piece of this build-up molding, I've got another round over to make, but I'll have to turn it up the other way on that end over there. Yeah, I've got another round over on the back side of it to make. Just a slight thing, but that won't take me very long. Okay, now I've got this piece all brought to size, sanded, and ready to profile. You know, and this I can run the whole thing, both sides. It just needs sanded and dressed. There's a little round over to make right here. Okay, now I've got my last piece of the molding. I'm ready to bring it to size. Bring the poplar to the size of that last piece. You're making a little molding like this. Your router will want to wobble, see? So I set up stuff like this to give myself more of a foundation for the router plate to sit on so it won't wobble. So I'm just using scraps of... Okay, there's the little piece I'm running right there. You'll notice how the top is crowned. I've got points on there. So I'll have to take those points off That with a little planer, a little plane, hand plane, and then a sandpaper to round that over. It's making just a one of a kind here. You know, you got to do it by whatever gets the job done. I wanted to show you the finished profile there. Now that was I just did that with I used the pad sander. Of course, I use a pad sander in any way that I can. I'm probably abusive to the tool. This is poplar, and it's a little bit softer. You know, radius work, rule of thumb is it costs 3 times the amount to make something in radius, in circular. And if you're talking stain grade, and especially like an oak or something like that, well, yeah, it's 3 times the cost and then double that, you know, for a stain grade. For a stain grade project, I probably wouldn't have the ability to make a video of it because I'd be so focused on what I was doing. Skinny little molding here on the straight pieces. Just using scrap plywood, you know, I got to lift it up. The bearing sits down below the surface of the piece I'm cutting, but it rides on the piece that I'm cutting. On a bench, and then I put platforms out here on either side to support the router to keep it from wobbling. We've done sanding the straight pieces. I just wanted to show you how these go together like that. See, it'll be pretty good once it's together. You know, I'll have a little bit of hand sanding to do to make it just right. But I just wanted to show you that I had to, according to my profile, I wanted that to round back this way, and so that's all done. Then I took the pad sander and smoothed this all out here, etc. And then, you know, everything you eventually, you know what, you want to just hand sand with the feel of your fingers. And so now I will start building up the layers, you see. See, this one goes like that. I'm striking the line of the actual half circle. Now from outside to outside is 34 5/8. So that means half that distance from there to the inflection line, or you know, where it's actually half, is 17 5/16. Okay, I got the head put together, got my got glued and tacked together and stuff, and it matches the profile pretty close, pretty close. Yeah. Could be better, could be worse. But I need to, I've got a little bit of a problem right here. This didn't turn out quite right. When I put the thing together on site and I bring my legs up to this, I'll just have to take a little extra care in putting it all together. This is pre-assembled. The build-up of the other pieces will occur on site. A room separate from the other one, which is a saving grace, you know. I mean, in that it's not sitting right next to the one I had to match. You know, there's some distance apart from them. I mean, if you wanted to study them real close, you know, you'll find problems, differences, and things. You know, of course, the other one is 180 years old or something, and so it's had damages and things to it. You know, if anything, I should probably try to beat on this a little bit to make it look older. We'll see when the painter gets a hold of it. You know what they want to do. They might decide to do something like that. There you go, my radius window casing. I expect the total labor with the installation and everything will be about $1,000. and a couple hundred for the materials. I didn't mill the materials myself. I just went to the lumber yard and got pre-made, you know, pre-milled poplar lumber. Only a few pieces of lumber. If it were a bigger project, you know, I'd buy rough lumber from the sawmill and mill it myself. It comes out a little bit better. See, it's a new window that they put in. I've already got the head, the very top piece put in. My stool and the apron underneath the stool, I'll put that in, and then I'll go about cutting and building up the vertical pieces. Remember, this one was a little off right here when I made it. It wasn't quite straight there, and found that angle, and then that's what I cut on my board. Got an angle on it. So it's all put together. So there's some plaster torn out up at the top. I didn't do that. That was whoever the installers did it, and exactly match the where the old window was.